there is a narrow stretch of water, just 33 kilometers wide at its tightest point, yet through it flows nearly a fifth of the world's oil, a place where global superpowers collide, where tensions can shake entire economies, where a single miscalculation could trigger a global crisis. This is the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz lies between Iran to the north and Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. And beyond that, the rest of the world. Every day, massive oil tankers pass through this narrow corridor, carrying energy from some of the richest oil-producing nations on Earth. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the UAE rely on this passage to export their oil. But here's the problem. At its narrowest shipping lane, there are only 2 channels, each just 2 miles wide. One for inbound traffic, one for outbound, and between them, a thin buffer zone. That's it, a bottleneck for the global economy. Roughly 20% of the world's oil consumption passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Let that sink in. 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil moves through this single vulnerable choke point. It's not just oil, liquefied natural gas, especially from Qatar, one of the world's largest exporters, also depends heavily on this route. If the strait were blocked, even temporarily, oil prices could skyrocket overnight. Global markets would panic, supply chains would fracture, and economies far beyond the Middle East would feel the shock. From Asia to Europe to the United States, everyone is connected to this narrow stretch of water. To understand the Strait of Hormuz, you must understand Iran. Iran controls the northern coastline of the strait and holds a powerful strategic position. For decades, Iranian leaders have repeatedly warned if their economy is threatened, if their oil exports are blocked, they could close the Strait of Hormuz. But how? Iran possesses a range of military capabilities designed specifically for this scenario. Fast attack boats, naval mines, anti-ship missiles, coastal defense systems. Rather than confronting larger navies head-on, Iran relies on asymmetric warfare. Small, fast, unpredictable attacks. Even a limited disruption, a few mines, a damaged tanker could create chaos, and Iran knows it. On the other side of this equation stands the United States. For decades, the US Navy has maintained a strong presence in the region. Its 5th Fleet, based in Bahrain, patrols the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. The US has one clear objective: keep the strait open. Because for Washington, this isn't just about oil, it's about global stability, allies, and economic security. The United States has repeatedly stated any attempt to block the strait would be met with force, and history shows this is not an empty threat. The Strait of Hormuz has been a flashpoint for decades. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, both sides targeted oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. The United States intervened to protect shipping, even engaging in direct conflict with Iran. In 1988, tensions escalated dramatically. A US warship shot down an Iranian civilian airliner, killing 290 people. A tragic moment that still echoes in regional tensions today. More recently, oil tankers have been attacked, drones have been shot down, naval vessels have been seized, each incident bringing the region closer to the brink. For the Gulf countries, the Strait of Hormuz is both a lifeline and a vulnerability. Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, depends heavily on it. So do the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Iraq. These nations have invested billions in pipelines and alternative routes, trying to reduce dependence on the strait. But none can fully replace it. At the same time, they view Iran as a regional rival. This creates a delicate balance. They rely on the strait, but fear the power of the country that can disrupt it. Far from the Middle East, another major player watches closely: China. As the world's largest importer of oil, China depends heavily on energy flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. A disruption here would hit Beijing hard, impacting industry, growth, and stability. But unlike the United States, China prefers a quieter approach. It invests in infrastructure, builds economic partnerships, and avoids direct military confrontation. Still, its growing naval presence suggests one thing: China is preparing to protect its interests. If necessary, then there's Russia. Unlike China, Russia is a major energy exporter. So when oil prices rise, Moscow often benefits. This creates a complex dynamic. Russia has aligned itself politically with Iran in many cases, especially in conflicts like Syria. At the same time, it positions itself as a global power broker, balancing relationships across the region. For Russia, the Strait of Hormuz is not just a risk, it's also an opportunity. And then there is Israel. While not directly bordering the strait, Israel views Iran as one of its greatest threats. Any escalation involving Iran, especially one that disrupts global trade, could have serious security implications. Israel closely monitors developments and has, at times, taken preemptive actions against perceived threats. For Israel, the Strait of Hormuz is part of a much larger strategic picture. So the big question is, could the Strait of Hormuz actually be closed? The answer is complicated. Technically, yes, Iran could disrupt traffic through mines, missiles, or harassment, but completely shutting it down, that's far more difficult, because any prolonged closure would trigger a massive military response, led by the United States and its allies, and Iran knows this. So instead of full closure, the real threat lies in partial disruption, just enough to spike oil prices, create uncertainty, and send a message. Imagine this: the strait is blocked. Oil shipments stop. Within hours, markets react. Prices surge. Within days, fuel shortages begin in parts of the world. Airlines cut flights. Shipping slows. Inflation rises. And within weeks, the global economy begins to feel the strain. This is why the Strait of Hormuz matters, not just to the Middle East, but to every country. A reminder that sometimes the most important places on Earth are also the most dangerous.